Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. Today's video, we're talking all about wedding photography and specifically how to find the right wedding photographer for you and what to look for when it comes to searching for your perfect wedding photographer. So as you might already know, there is really no shortage of wedding photographers within this industry, and that is a great thing. That's a huge advantage because photographers tend to book up very quickly, and so it's nice to know that there are a lot of options for you and a lot of different niches and kind of styles to find the one that is right for you. And so while this is a good thing, it can be a little bit overwhelming for some, and not knowing what to even look for or how to choose among this sea of wedding photographers, how to know which one is right for you in your wedding day. So today we're going to break down some of the pieces that I think are the most important parts of finding your perfect wedding photographer. And what I want to start off with is there's a lot of people that don't realize that different photographers have different styles, and this style can be described as not only the style of what their photography looks like, what the final product looks like, and how those photos are edited, coloring, all of that, but also their kind of just their working style in general. So maybe this is their style in communication, their style in how they photograph you, if they're putting you in a lot of candid type scenarios, if it's a lot of posed type scenarios, what their communication is with you throughout the actual photo shooting process, as well as how they operate from time of booking to time of sending you the final product. So all of these kind of go into a photographer's style, and each photographer will bring something a little bit different to your wedding day. So it's important to think through that and envision kind of what you feel like best fits you guys as a couple and what you want to work with for your wedding day. My biggest tip overall, you want a wedding photographer that not only do you like what their photos look like, but you want a photographer that you can connect with both on that artistic level and creative level of, appreciating the work that they produce and feeling like that resonates with you, as well as on a emotional, personal level as well. This vendor is the one that's going to be with you the most on your wedding day, pretty much all day long during your wedding day, and capturing a lot of those really intimate moments. And sometimes it's just the three of you in this moment right after you got married, and you're taking this in with your partner, and your photographer is going to be there for that. Your photographer is going to be there while you're getting your wedding dress on, while you're doing private vows, while you're doing a first look, all of these very special moments. You want somebody there that's going to make you feel comfortable, and that you either are able to completely ignore their presence because they are so good at being just kind of a fly on the wall, or somebody that you feel their presence, and that presence makes you feel comfortable. So that's also something to take into consideration. So how to find this? So when you are looking for wedding photographers, you're likely going to start online, doing a Google search, looking on Wedding Wire, on your local wedding resource directory that's going to show you vendors in your area, and you're going to be seeing their work online. So great first step is to look at all of their work, whether that's on a website, look at their Instagram, look at their reviews, look at their tagged photos, not only the photos that they are showing on their feed, as they might be curating a very specific look on their feed, but look at their tagged photos too and see what their client's previous work is looking like, and does that match what they're showing on their main feed as well. And make sure that you're getting a good sense of what their kind of online presence, online picture looks like, and use that to see what resonates with you, the style, the not only the style of the photo itself, as far as what the coloring is, if it's more moody, is it more light and bright, what do you resonate with, but as well as the style of the photo itself. So is it a super close-up detail shot that you love? Is it a very candid moment between a couple that just got married? Is it a very intimate moment? Does it seem like it's something that's curated or candid? Do you like more posed style photos? What overall style of photos are really speaking to you? And be able to kind of have that lead what you're choosing as maybe a top three when it comes to vetting and narrowing down your choices for a wedding photographer. So once you've picked out several, maybe this is a top 2 or 3, and then you're like, okay, how the heck do I narrow this down and pick the one that is right for me? There are some questions that you can ask them directly or think through to be able to kind of narrow down to who is going to be the right wedding photographer for you. Something that you want to ask is, are they personally going to be shooting your wedding? Are they kind of the face of the brand and then they send other people out? Are there multiple people that work for this company so you don't know exactly who it's going to be? Or do they work with a second shooter? So you want to make sure that you're getting a good sense of who is actually going to physically be at your wedding, so that these photos that you're liking you're going to get those photos, but is it the person that you're speaking to, communicating with? Is that what resonates with you, and you want to work specifically with that person as well? So understanding who exactly is going to be physically at your wedding might aid in this decision for you. Another good question to ask is if they have photographed at your venue before. This shouldn't be a deal breaker. This isn't like a make or break situation, and you shouldn't be basing your decision on whether your photographer has or hasn't shot at your venue before. That isn't really an indicator of the product that you're going to get. However, if you are choosing between two different photographers and you really don't know who to go with, having the one that has shot at your venue before is probably going to be able to run things a little bit more efficiently and know where the good photo ops are, kind of know the flow of the day, and be able to have that knowledge a little bit better than the one who has never shot there before. Similarly, asking them if they worked with your wedding planner or coordinator if you are having one. That way you know that they are going to work effectively together, be able to communicate with each other. It's really helpful if the photographer and the coordinator do have a relationship, as building out that timeline is going to be a lot easier. I always communicate with the photographers as I'm building my master timeline to make sure that their photo timeline that they've communicated with the couple is the same as the timeline that I have, and making sure that I'm thinking through from like a photographer's mind as I'm creating the timeline as well, and knowing how long certain things need to allow time for, and kind of trying to create things that are going to benefit obviously the overall flow and benefit the couple and the guests, but also benefit the photographer to the best of my abilities to make sure that everyone's job is going to be easier. As we've talked about style a few times, it's good to ask the photographer how they would describe their style. So if there's a certain way that you're interpreting their style and that's what's resonating with you, make sure that the photographer is also communicating the same thing. So maybe you're seeing this particular style on their Instagram profile, and you want to make sure that that's also how they would describe their work. And if it's not, they might be going through some kind of shift. They might be evolving their style, or maybe they're just creating a style that's like what's trending currently and not something that they can specifically explain for themselves. So you want to make sure that how they're communicating their style is the same as how you perceive it. Obviously, you want to talk about pricing and packaging. If you are trying to choose a photographer that is within a specific budget, this will obviously have a pretty big role in the deciding factor for you. Most photographers will work on a kind of package basis, so asking how they price their things out, if they work on set packages, if those are customizable, if that's something that you're looking for, and kind of how you are going to actually logistically book that photographer is a good question to ask before booking them. It's also good to get a sense of what their typical turnaround time is. Again, this may not make or break your situation. However, it's good to have that knowledge. Some photographers have a very quick turnaround time and some have a much longer lead time. And if you anticipate really wanting photos right away, then you're probably going to want to go with the photographer that has a quicker turnaround time. But it's also just good to have that knowledge so that going into it, you know what to expect from your photographer, and the time will feel a little bit less long if you're waiting a couple of months after your wedding, if you are already expecting that leading into it. Huge piece of the puzzle, ask about a backup plan. Make sure that whether that's in their contract, if you haven't seen a contract yet, that you're verbally asking them what their backup plan is if for some reason they are unable to show up and photograph your wedding. Do they have an apprentice they work with? Do they have a second shooter they can send out? What is that going to look like in absolute worst case scenarios, so that you make sure that you're still getting what you're paying for? And your wedding photography is a very important piece of your wedding, because that's the only thing that's really going to outlast your wedding day, other than your marriage, of course. But from the actual like physical part of your wedding, these wedding photos, it's kind of a one-time deal. So you want to make sure that you are having some sort of backup plan and that you feel confident in your photographer and what they're going to be able to produce. I also think it's good to talk through what their working style is on the wedding day. Are they somebody that likes to be behind the scenes? They don't really want you to even know that they're there. They're just taking photos. Are they a little bit more hands-on, direct, and being able to kind of get people where they need to be, especially for family photos? This is something that I feel like it's important to talk about. Are they the person that's going to help handle, rally people that they need, be able to be in that kind of leadership role to make things happen quickly and efficiently? Or are they going to be relying on you? Are they going to need a friend or family member? Do they expect the wedding planner to do that? Making sure that you are having that conversation and choosing somebody that's going to fit well with your working style. So are you somebody that is kind of shy and really don't want to be hands-on and having to gather all of these people? You're probably going to want to choose a photographer that's going to be more hands-on, more in control, and in kind of that leadership role to do so. I did a video quite a while back on all of the questions that you should be asking your wedding photographer before booking them. So if you want more of these, that is another video to check out. It's pretty old, so don't judge me, but this video is mostly on how to kind of narrow it down and choose the photographer that's really right for you. And that one is just all the questions you could possibly ask a wedding photographer before booking them if you feel like you need more questions to ask. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we'll see you next week.